December 7th, 2017. My name is Bill McCamley. I'm a state representative from Las Cruces and Mesilla here in New Mexico, and this is your update for the day. For those of you that have not heard, it is 2:20 or so, and a few hours ago there was a shooting at Aztec High School up in the northwest part of the state. Two students as well as the shooter are dead. They think it's another student. There's many others that have been injured. And actually a friend of mine who lives in Idaho, his mom teaches at I think it's the middle or elementary school across the street, and they've been on lockdown all day. They're apparently okay, but at some point in time, these shootings, thoughts and prayers are not enough. This is the second time in a few months something like this has happened in New Mexico. For those of you that remember, there was a shooting in a library by a teenager in Clovis. And we all have to recognize that we're going to have to start doing something about this. Look, I'm a weapon owner, and I understand, though, that having a weapon, it's not just a right, it comes with responsibilities. And if there are laws, common sense laws that we can pass that keep guns out of the hands of criminals and out of the hands of children, then we should look at those. Furthermore, background checks are good, and if you go to a gun store to purchase a weapon, you have to get a background check. You should have to do that if you buy online or at a gun store, or at a gun show, excuse me. Furthermore, the shooting that happened a few weeks ago in Texas, the guy never should have had a weapon, and he was in the Air Force, and the Air Force didn't send his information where he had been, he had a past record of domestic violence. We need to find ways of tightening these rules up. This cannot continue, and we can't wait till everyone in the country is personally affected by this before we do something. It's just got to stop. Now to more legislative stuff, I guess. Yesterday there was a meeting of the Legislative Finance Council. I went up there to do something that I don't normally do, which is look into Department of Health budgeting, and the Secretary was presenting her budget for the upcoming year. I actually will do something rare. I will praise a member of the administration. She talked pretty extensively about how they are combating teen pregnancy in the state with comprehensive sex education and distribution of birth control to young people in schools and through their community health centers. Condoms, Norplant, long-term birth control, and this is something that is a common sense way of cutting down on teen pregnancy. Abstinence-only education without birth control does not work. We know it. They know it. It's not something you hear from a Republican administration too much, and it was good to hear because it is working to lower the teen birth rate here in New Mexico. 4 other things. Number one, they, along with other departments, have had a huge vacancy rate because of our budget cuts the last couple of years. They actually have a 20% vacancy rate now. That means services don't get provided. As an example, a couple of weeks ago, I got an email from a constituent of mine who was trying to get a birth certificate for his daughter. This is the Department of Health's job, and they just didn't have the bandwidth to process it when he moved to a new address, and I had to kind of work the system to get him one. If we don't have the staffing that we need, these sorts of things fall through the cracks, and people don't get things like birth control or birth certificates for their kids. Secondly, DD waivers. So New Mexico actually is one of the leaders in the nation at providing disabled services to people outside of the hospital system, and this is done through what is called a DD waiver process, where you can get Medicaid funding for something that is outside of what Medicaid usually funds. But the state has to provide the funding, and right now we haven't had a chance to increase that, and there are 6,500 people on the waiting list to get that waiver. We only solved that, and we only solved the vacancy problem by raising revenue to fund departments. These things are linked. Taxes and tax revenue are completely and directly linked to the services that we can provide. And if we don't get the tax revenue in, if the governor is not willing to sign very common sense, very easy revenue increases like a sales tax for internet sales, we can't make these services work. They did promulgate some new rules for crisis triage centers. We've been trying to get one working down here for years. That means that if a police officer goes and picks someone up and they think they have mental health issues, they don't just take them right to jail, which isn't good for anybody. They take them to a service center where hopefully they can get some of their mental health issues worked on in a productive manner. And I encourage the Secretary to agree with the Medical Cannabis Board in allowing for opioid addiction to be used as a reason for people to get a medical cannabis card. They asked her to do it last year on a 5-1 vote. She did not. She said there needed to be more research. They did it again this year, the advisory board, on a 6-0 vote with a lot more research, and she said she's going to be looking through that. So hopefully she does that. This is something that works, And with the opioid problems we have here in New Mexico, it's something we need to do. Thanks for watching this. As always, if you have questions, comments, or concerns, I'd love to hear from you, and I hope everyone has a lovely rest of your Thursday. Thanks.